Genesis 3:21 tells us that the Father made Adam and Eve clothing out of skins. Why did he make Adam and Eve clothing? In Genesis 6 it is said that,
"And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves aprons."
in Genesis 3:7 it says that,
Lord God made garments of skin for Adam and his wife and clothed them.
so if they already had aprons made of fig leaves, why did they need new clothing? To understand this, we have to first look at another story, the story of Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel were Adam and Eve's first children. Abel was the nomadic shepherd, Cain was a sedentary farmer. When it was time for the boys to make an offering to God, they were both told to give a lamb. Abel followed the command of God. Cain tried to go his own way and give grain and oil. God accepted the lamb, but he did not accept the grain and the oil. I believe that the reason why Cain's offering was rejected was because of blood, or the lack of blood. Without blood, there's no remission of sin. The clothing made of fig leaves had to be changed. People were trying to make it their own way. With the blood that was shed when the Adams died, Adam and Eve were forgiven of the sin from eating the fruit of knowledge. This was the first sacrifice. Adam and Eve had to have clothing for protection. The world away from the garden was harsh. People would have to farm and raise livestock to live. The blood was key to forgive their sins, but they still had sin nature, just like us today. The Sumerians had a very similar story. The tale of Adabah was an epic poem found in cuneiform tablet. The story was in two pieces. One was in Egypt and the other was in the archives of the king of Assyria. As the story goes, Adapa was perfect. He was designed by Enki himself. Adapa lived in an estate underground. He was given wisdom, but not eternal life. Adapa he had many jobs, hunting, fishing, and gathering, and many other tasks. Adapa was fishing one day, and the south wind flooded the boat and almost capsized it. Adapa lost his temper and broke the south wind's wings. Adapa was told that he had to talk to Anu. A ship was sent to him, and Adapa was told that he can talk to Anu, but he could not eat his food or drink anything on his visit. Anu gave Adapa clothes and offered him food and drink. This was special food that would make people immortal. Anu became angry because Adapa would not eat.
They fetched him the bread of life, but he would not eat. They fetched him the water of life, but he would not drink. They fetched him a garment, and he put it on himself. They fetched him oil, and he anointed himself. Anu watched him and laughed at him.
Adapa was returned to the earth. His clothes was filthy. The history of the clothing of Adam and Eve is long and sordid. They were the first priestly garments. This clothing was passed down through many hands. Methuselah received them from Enoch. Enoch passed them to Methuselah. Methuselah gave them to Noah. Noah gave them to Ham. Ham gave the clothing to Cush. Cush hid the garments for a long time and gave them to his favorite son, Nimrod. Nimrod held the clothing until
And when Esau saw the mighty men of Nimrod coming at a distance, he fled, and thereby escaped. And Esau took the valuable garments of Nimrod, which Nimrod's father had bequeathed to Nimrod, and with which Nimrod prevailed over the whole land. And he ran and concealed them in his house. And Esau took those garments and ran into the city on account of Nimrod's men, and he came unto his father's house wearied and exhausted from fight, and he was ready to die through grief when he approached his brother Jacob and sat before him.
Jacob received the clothing from Esau. From here, the sacred garments disappeared from history, possibly transforming into the clothing of the high priest of the temple of God in Jerusalem. The type of skin used is lost. To uncover this, we have to cross-reference history, myth, and religion. Shiva and Osiris both wore leopard skins. Both are examples of Nimrod. Bacchus, which is another name for Dionysus, is well known for wearing a leopard skin and sometimes even riding a leopard, the leopard pulling his chariot. Noah owned the clothing of Adam and Eve. Therefore, they wore leopard skin because Nimrod also wore leopard skin. God probably used a leopard to clothe people to scare away other animals. Most other animals are afraid of leopards. The name Nimrod was translated as I will rebel. Another meaning is the leopard subduer. Nimrod used the leopards to hunt the other animals. In Persian legends, the founder of Babylon first used leopards and dogs to aid him in hunting. The Egyptian priests also were known to wear leopard skins. Then, leopard skins were used when leopard skins were not available. The spotted skin of a fawn was used. This was the case in Greece, where leopards are rare. The Greeks called Nimrod Nebrus, among other titles. Nebrus means the spotted one. Nimrod was spotted because he wore the spotted clothing given to him by Cush. These articles of clothing were the clothing made by the hand of God himself, the physical result of the first sacrifice where God shed blood for the sins of man.